What up, world, and welcome back to the Pursuit of the Good Life podcast. I am your host, the Kameron Lovelace, joined as always by the amazing Dr. Sarah Benson. Sarah, what's going on?
Nothing much. What is going on with you, Cam?
Everything is, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little rough this week.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I do not have am I tripping or not this week? But if you got one, please go to the Instagram pursuit_podcast and submit. I'm going to post one probably around Monday, Tuesday of next week, because that's when we record the podcast, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Whenever the post goes up, if you got one, comment on it and post what your tripping or not is, and we'll weigh in or we'll figure something out for next week.
Yeah.
But obviously this podcast is in the wake of a real big tragedy, and I know it impacted my life. I don't know how much he impacted yours, but Kobe Bryant passed away along with his daughter Gigi and seven other passengers on the way to basketball tournament, and it just hit me hard.
Yeah.
So, but when I took a step back and I really noticed is that this has just been a season of death. Like, I don't know how deep she wants to get into it, but Sparkle lost somebody, like that she, not necessarily somebody that she's close with, but somebody that she knew that was only 25 years old.
Oh, wow.
Died in a car accident. And then I've had some clients. So one of my other counselors, they had clients. Grandmother passed away via cancer. Other people passing away via heart attack. And it's just seemed like there's just been a whole lot of death. And then on top of that, then Kobe died.
Yeah.
So, and I think it would just be good to just kind of sit and process loss in the midst of the good life. Because when you get the good life, you know, and something very tragic happens, you got to know how to process it. And not everybody is, you know, mental health savvy and knows, I need to process this, I need to do this,
yeah.
I need to get around people. Some people just go and isolate themselves and just, you know, try to not think about it, try to dumb it down all the way. And I just feel like this should be an episode where we just talk about kind of how to process that. But first, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like these past few days have been just really heavy. Not only for myself, but just everybody that's around me. Although I was not a really huge Kobe fan, I definitely felt the loss. Mm-hmm. I think for me, it was just the whole thing. And so like Cam said, my family definitely experienced loss last week. One of my very dear cousins, she passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. And so I think I was trying to go through the process of dealing with that, and then boom, this happened. And so it was like, I really felt like this kind of hit a little bit different. I don't know if it was because of how many people it was, or the fact that like his daughter was with him and all these other younger people were with him, but it just hurts. Like, it really just hurts. And so I agree with you. I think that we definitely have to take time to really talk about just loss and grief and what that looks like. I think that oftentimes, because we are all so busy and we're all on this journey and we're all trying to reach our goals, that when something tragic happens or a loss happens, that we don't really know how to process that. You know, especially like you said, if you're not really mental health savvy, or if you're not from a family where, you know, that's something you talk about, you do isolate yourself. Absolutely. And so I think it's good to kind of talk about, like, what does this look like? How does this feel? Because I know I've seen like many different posts of people like asking questions like, why are we mourning somebody we've never met? Or why is this so important, right?
And that's crazy how somebody that you have never met has such an impact on you. And like you said, this death, like, there's been a lot of celebrity deaths over the years.
Right,
you know,
right.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Prince was a couple years ago.
Nip was last year.
Nip was just last year.
Yeah.
But this one hit different.
Yeah.
And there's a couple layers to it. Well, for me, there was, of course, a couple layers to it. Because I know when the new sport first came in, of course, it was Kobe.
Yeah.
And I was
like, wait a minute.
Wait, not Kobe. Not Kobe.
Right.
I mean, for me, he represented... So, of course, I grew up playing basketball. I love basketball still to this day. And, of course, representing from the respect standpoint, of course, he's a baller. But really, I became a true fan of his probably around 2008.
Okay.
When we were going back to the Olympics. I don't know if you know much about sports, but
yeah.
Those of you who are sports fans know the Redeem team was 2008 because USA had been losing in international play.
Oh, I didn't know that part, but I do know sports. Yeah.
Right. But so the Redeem team 2008 was when they really got everybody in, and that kind of started with Kobe Bryant coming to the team and being the leader because he was the hands down best player in the league at the time.
Of course.
Hadn't played in the Olympics before, but he came in and kind of set the standard as far as his hard work and ethic. And I think that was kind of when the Mamba mentality was kind of born. Because you got to realize Kobe, obviously everybody knows practicing, stuff like that. But Kobe's routine was, of course, he's going to get up at 3, 4 in the morning, get his workout in, practice, do what he needs to do, practice with the team at midday, and then practice again after everybody else is gone. So he's putting in 3 hours of practice, 3 different practices a day. And then as I was diving deeper into like who Kobe was, that was his routine, like
in life
throughout his career.
Okay.
And so I became a fan because of that, because that is what it takes to become the greatest. Not just resting on your talent, but having the hard work that overcomes the talent. And so that was where I became a really, really huge fan of him as a basketball player. And then eventually I became an even bigger fan of him off the court.
Yeah.
Because of his mindset, because of just the way that he carried himself off the court. And then when he did finally step away from the game, I find out through all the podcast interviews and all the things I'm following, because I'm a Kobe fan, so everything that he gets interviewed, I watch. You find out that he's been a family man, a really, really big family man this whole time.
Yeah.
The whole reason that he got a helicopter is because he was missing important stuff.
Yeah.
And he was getting caught in LA traffic. Whereas a helicopter ride takes 15 minutes. So he was going routinely 15 minutes here to practice. So he come back and can take his daughters to school.
Yeah.
And can spend those 20 extra minutes when he does have home games. And just, it's that grew my respect even more for him. Dang near the hero status. Like that is like, this is somebody who you aspire to be, and we're gonna dive in deeper into the show, but that's what it was for me. So that was the first part of this tragedy.
Yeah.
And then you find out
his baby.
that his daughter, his 13-year-old daughter, was with him, and that's a tragedy. So then you start thinking about the whole family, how the whole family feels, and I let out a big cry, and even Sparkle cried. Sparkle wasn't no Kobe fan either. She respected him, as one of the greats, but she broke down when we both started just talking about how Vanessa, his wife, is feeling in this moment, losing her husband
and her baby.
And then you find out
there was more people.
There was more people. First you hear 5 people, and then you hear it's 7 people.
I know.
And I think the layers behind layers, as the news was getting it,
made it even worse.
We're releasing it.
Yeah.
Just made it worse. So, I let out a big cry on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I spent all day on Monday just watching interviews and watching people.
Yeah.
Very, just allowing myself to feel it.
Yeah.
Just to feel it. Because a lot of us, especially black men, we wanna dive down, suck it up. I ain't even know, just all that good stuff. No, I want to feel every piece of this grief. This man was a hero and a basketball icon and really an icon of manhood.
He was. Yeah, no, I was like the same way. So Like you said, as more information kept coming out, I just felt like, oh, this is another blow. This is another blow. This is another blow. And for me, I think my mind, I kept going back to his wife because it was funny is I didn't even follow Kobe Bryant on Instagram, but I followed his wife. I know, but I followed his wife because I would kind of see her. I was like, oh, she's beautiful. She seems, like a mom, like just like somebody who loves her family and just very active. And so when I heard about what happened, like I immediately, like my mind went to her because she loved her family. Like, and even though I'm not married and I don't have children, I could just only imagine how that felt. Like, not only have I lost the person I've been with since I was like 17, they're going on almost 20 years of marriage,
18 or something.
but I lost my child. And so for me, like that was like the one thing that like I just kept thinking about. And so like you, I like watch CNN and ESPN and I would just kind of look at social media, but then I have to get off because it just got to be so heavy for me. And I was like, okay, like I need to just take a step back. Because it's a lot. And I agree. Like, I feel like Kobe, even though I wasn't like a huge basketball fan, I was a fan of him off the court. Mm-hmm. And so his relationship with his daughters, just the way he looked at sports through the eyes of women, that's what really made me like, okay, like he's really in this,
He's got it.
He's got it. Yeah. Because like my cousins, they played basketball, like my female cousins did. And so, and you hear about all the differences and things, but he was a champion for that. I saw that UConn, which is where his daughter wanted to go. Yep. They like honored her and I literally bust into tears because I was just like, wow, like that's supposed to be her. Mm-hmm. Like this was her dream, And then thinking about the other young ladies, the other 13-year-olds that were on there, and for me, I just kept going back to like, man, like their lives were just cut short. It was just so much potential and it was just so much, just everything. And so it's been heavy. It's been real heavy. But I think that the world felt this on so many levels, whether you were a Kobe fan, a basketball fan, a parent, somebody who loves somebody. Like, we felt this to the core.
Yeah, it was just, it's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And I can only imagine what everybody else on that plane, the families of the other people are feeling like as well. Because this is just, honestly, this was a glorified car ride.
Yeah.
This is a weekend tournament.
We just gonna go.
We just gonna hop in the van and drive to the tournament together. I got the big van. He got the helicopter. It only makes sense.
Of course.
It's just, and it was right there, and it's a shock.
It is.
And it's not fair.
It's not.
And it's okay for everybody to process it like that and say that this is not fair. Life is too short. But the crazy part is that life is valuable because of death.
Yeah.
And we take it for granted. And I hate that every time
somebody passes,
somebody passes or something sudden happens, then we want to snap back to reality and start calling our loved ones and say, I love you.
And making amends.
And
yeah.
I hate that it takes that to happen for us to get right.
I agree. That's one of the things that I noticed was just like a lot of celebrities after this, they were just, I guess, just being more open in a sense and like making amends. So like, I do love basketball. I am a Thunder fan. So Kendrick Perkins, he tweeted KD and apologized.
Right then and there?
Right then and there. Like,
wow.
He, like, tweeted him. It was like, hey, I love you. I'm sorry. Like, we're going to squash this. And so if you, like, know a little bit about OKC basketball, like, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. But I hate that it had to take this for that to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I saw other people, like T.I., he was just posting messages to his wife and his daughters and things. And I'm just like you said, I hate that it takes that. But I agree that we value life when death happens, right? That's when it's like, oh, life is short. You know, let me get it together. Let me make amends with these people. Let me tell people I love them, when we should do that anyway. You know, like, we should not let little petty things keep us from talking to each other, or put us in a stage of that we don't like people, or that we treat people bad. But I have definitely seen that a lot these past few days, of people just making amends, and people, you know, I guess wanted to live right, in a sense. Because we do think about life. I mean, I know for me, it really made me start to think about, like, what is going to be my legacy when I leave?
That's facts.
You know? Because to look at everything that Kobe was doing, and even the things that we didn't even know, you know, and not even just him, but the other people who were on the plane as well, and looking at their lives, it really made me kind of think, like, okay, Sarah, like, if you were to go today, what are people going to say about you?
Right. Man, that does, like I said, I hate that it takes this to everybody to start get some act right in your system. Like, okay, let's take life for granted. Let's hug our wives tight. Let's hug our husbands. Let's hug our children. Let's hug our family members. Let's squash beef because it's not worth it. I hate that it just flips everything in perspective.
When death happens,
I definitely will not let, you know, his death, you know, be in vain.
Yeah.
And I definitely will get some act right in my system. I mean, I feel like I already did, but this just puts even more, like, fuel in the system to just, you know, really value the moment and really value what legacy you are leaving behind. But some of you are really having a tough time with this, and some of you have also experienced, you know, death in your own personal lives, in your churches, in your families, in your job. Like, death, for some reason, has just hit hard this particular season.
Yeah.
And
this month,
for real. And I know one of my co-counselors, she said that one of her clients has went to 7 funerals since November.
Really?
Since November, like, between families and church members and friends.
My goodness.
7. And I hope you're not going through that, but it's just, like I said, it's just been a lot of, like, death hanging on. I don't know what's going on in the spiritual world, but I think people need to know how to process it. But first, really before we just dive into how to process it, I want to use my mental health training, because I am a mental health therapist. I'm not a specialized grief therapist, so do not call me for sessions. Do not send me or Sarah DMs. To
we will
redirect
you to somebody.
But I definitely want to start with what, you know, the quote unquote stages of grief look like. And so let's going through them just briefly. The first stage, they say, is denial. And I can definitely say that I experienced that on Sunday.
Of course.
Because I was like, not Kobe. I was like, I said, it can't be true. Who for it? TMZ? Man, TMZ gets stuff wrong all the time. I don't want to believe it. And of course it was true.
Yeah. And that's also where shock comes in as well. So denial and shock. So I think for me, my initial was shock. Like, what are you talking about? Like, even like, and it's so interesting because I was FaceTiming my boyfriend. He was like, he had just woke up to like 50 text messages. He was like, baby, like, Kobe's dead. I was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
I was like, what? No, he's not. You know, like, that was my initial, was just shock. Like, this is not real. Like, is this really happening right now?
Because he's 41, and so the shock hits you.
Yeah.
Especially when it's sudden.
Of course.
And the next one, and by the way, this list isn't like rigid.
Right.
Like, you don't experience in one, then after another, then after another. Like, you can experience a myriad of these at different points in the grief process. But the second official one is anger.
Yeah.
That you're mad at either the situation, you're mad at yourself, you're just upset.
Yeah.
The next one is bargaining. Now, what that means is that you're trying to basically make sense of the situation, of what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, what happened, or this? You're just trying to figure it out and try to, like, either hold somebody responsible for it, hold something responsible for it. Was the weather bad? Was the pilot drunk?
Yeah.
Was this? Was that? You're really trying to find something to blame, or for something like to make sense, hold something responsible for this great loss. And the next one is depression.
Yes.
And that goes deeper than just pure sadness. That goes into where you are isolating yourself. Like depression is deeper than sadness in that sense that you feel it all, but you just shut yourself in from everybody, which is, we're going to get into that. We don't want you to do that.
Right.
But where you really just separate yourself from everybody, you block everything out, you stop eating, you might stop sleep, you might not sleep as well, you might not shower, you might abandon your hygiene. Please don't do that. Everything just starts going downhill. And the last one is acceptance. Of course, not necessarily that you are, you just accept that this person is no longer here.
Yeah.
Not that you're better, not that you're okay, but that you finally it hits you that I'm never going to talk to this person again. I'm never going to see this person play again. I'm never going to see any more videos. I'm not going to see
anything else
anymore, and I'm no longer going to have any more memories of them. I'm just going to have the memory of them. And so that's kind of the grief process. You were about to say something.
Well, no, I was going to say that I agree that these stages aren't something that like everybody goes through. But the one thing to remember is that you don't want to get stuck in a stage, because I think what happens is we'll go through the denial, we'll go through the shock, and sometimes we'll get stuck in the anger or the depression. And you'll look up and it's 4 or 5 years and you're still mad, or you're still feeling depressed, and we're still holding on to that. And I think we have to learn how to work through that to get to the acceptance. And so it's not saying that this person's life didn't mean anything, or that because I'm no longer angry doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. It's just that you have to get to a place of acceptance. Because like I was telling Cam, I was listening to TD Jakes this morning on the Breakfast Club, and he said something. He was like, life goes on after tragedy. Like, bills have to get paid, you still have to go to work, you still have to go on, but sometimes we'll get stuck in these spaces and we'll shut down, and we don't know how to get back up. And it's okay to take a break. It's okay to take a step back. We're not saying you got to have everything just done. It's a set time. You grieve, and then that's it. Give yourself 6 weeks. Like, you go on your own path. But it's when we get stuck in the anger, or we get stuck in the depression, or we hold on to the pain, that it becomes something that becomes unhealthy for us in our lives. So.
And it manifests in such different ways. Like,
yeah.
I had a friend hit me a couple weeks ago. So earlier last year, he lost his mom, and then a couple weeks ago, he lost his grandma.
Oh my goodness!
So it's like boom, and then later that boom again. And he said that he had a dream with both of them in it, and he knows I'm a therapist, so he asked, what does this mean? So first question I asked, of course, I said, do you have any unresolved issues with either of them? First, I want to start there. And he was like, no, we're good in that area. I said, okay, well, you're probably, still grieving. Like, it's still on your subconscious mind, that you're just thinking about them. And that's perfectly okay for you to do that.
Yeah.
But I think you need to have some time to process it. And so, with that being said, I want to capitalize and give these people tangible tips.
Yes.
To actually deal with the grief. Even if you gotta do this with a professional grief counselor, a professional counselor, whoever's in your area, please do that. Do not just settle for the pastor. I know we as people of color like to just go to the pastor and let the pastor pray for us, and then just try to fight through it and try to just push. No. So here's something tangible that you can do. First and foremost, you got to disconnect. Yeah, I know Sarah said it before that, she had to just stop. She had to stop letting just stuff come in. And I know some of you are just investigators, and some of you just want to know all the details, and some of you just want to just keep going. But
feeding that.
When it gets to a point, you have to know when to just cut it off.
Yes.
Like cut off your phone, cut off your information, and just stop, absorbing all of the essence of death, I guess.
Yeah.
The second one that you got to do is feel your feelings.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us,
we don't want to feel.
We don't want to feel, and I'll speak for men especially. We don't want to feel. We don't want to feel any feelings, let alone sadness,
right?
Let alone hurt, let alone regret. We don't want to feel those negative feelings. But you gotta process it, because if you don't, they're gonna find their way out.
They will. They will.
In the most inconvenient time.
They will. Yeah, I was gonna say you definitely have to feel. I think that's where I am as far as with my grief, with everything, that I'm trying to let myself feel the feelings. Because if you guys are anything like me and you live a busy life, it's very easy to shut that off.
Yeah.
And to just go on to the next thing. Even though something tragic has happened and it's really heavy and all these things are happening, it's easy to shut that off. But you have to feel it, because it's gonna come out. And I think for me, I'm in the place where I'm trying to figure out ways to let myself feel it, in a sense, and accept that it's okay to feel it. Like, it's okay to cry. It is okay to cry. It is okay to be angry. It is okay to not want to talk to somebody. It's okay to not want to text back. Like, you have to feel it, and it's okay to feel. Because I agree, we don't like to feel it because it's unpleasant. And in a perfect world, we'll never feel anything unpleasant, but that's not life. And so it's okay to feel it.
Right. And so, I want to emphasize anger.
Yeah.
And I know me personally, and Sparkle was doing this too. She was like, bruh, we are promised 70 years. Why was his life cut short 30 years? Why was his daughter's life cut? Why was the people's life?
Yeah.
Like, I'm mad at God.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that, like, he didn't deserve this? What? And I said, you're absolutely right. I have no idea why he allowed this to happen and didn't take the life of a child rapist or a murder or somebody who has done wrong. And I understand that his ways are not our ways. I understand that you lean not on your own understanding. I get all that.
Yeah.
But it's okay to be upset and for it to not make sense.
Yes.
And it's not. Unfortunately, it's not gonna make sense.
It's not, and I don't think even if somebody was sick. So say for instance, if Kobe was just sick, right, and it came out that he had cancer and he just had like this incurable disease, it's still, I think people would still feel angry because it's like, why him? Like, why this? I think it's one of those things where it's like, it is the unknown, and it's okay to tell God how you feel. I think people think that, I can't be angry with God or I can't be upset, but no, like, God wants to know that. Like, he wants to know what you're feeling. And if that's what you're feeling, it's okay to express that. Because I agree with you. I for the life of me, I have just tried to process why. And I just come up that there is no answer why. The only person who knows why is God. And until we get there, we're not going to know why. I think that's why the bargaining piece, why we get so caught up in the information and okay, it was foggy and it was this and I'm gonna Google this, I'm gonna see all these things because we're trying.
Yeah.
Right, we're trying to make sense of the why, but sometimes there is no answer. And you have to get to a place where you're okay with that. And it's hard.
It's very hard.
It's really hard. I've I've definitely have been at the place of why with my cousin because she was only 39. And I've had to like, okay, well, what was going on? Like, was she sick? Was it this? Was it that? You know what I mean?
Was she eating right?
Was she eating right? Like,
cardiovascular health? Was she smoking? Like, what?
You know, I think I spent like an hour on her Facebook page one day, and I had to put my phone down because I was just like, Sarah, you can't. You will literally run yourself crazy trying to figure out the why.
Right. So feel the feel. So not to get off track.
Oh no, yeah.
But feel the feel.
Yes, feel the feels.
But eventually, you gotta start picking up the pieces to move forward and come out of that. And I personally find one of the best ways to do this is what I tell clients when we're grief is a piece of what we're working on. Is you got to find a way to honor this person.
Yes.
So whether that is, doing your activity that you were doing, watching the same movies that you both loved, drawing a picture of them, looking at photos. That's a good way to honor them. But like, do activities that will remind you
of that person,
of this person's life. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the things I remember TD Jake saying today was that oftentimes we'll hold on to the pain when we think about that person. So if it's like 4 or 5 years from now and you think about this, and we'll hold on to the pain because he said something that made sense. He was like, when you love something a lot, it's going to be painful when you lose it.
Right.
And so we'll associate that pain with those memories because, it's because I love them. That's why this is still painful. And so I agree with you, Cam, where I feel like you have to get to a place where you're going to have to turn that pain off and adopt this idea of, well, what are the good memories when I think about this person? Right? Like, yes, this is still painful. Yes, that it hurt. But what are some good things that, this person brought to my life? Like, what are some good memories? One of the things that I always tell people when they're dealing with grief, I always tell them to write a letter to the person. And the reason,
do that.
Huh?
Some people can't do
Some
that.
people can't do that, right? Some people can't do that. And I say, if you're at a place where you can write your feelings out, I have told people to like write their feelings out, just so they could tell that person, what's going on in their world, or how they're feeling, or how they felt about the death. I have talked to some people who were angry at the person for dying. And that's a very real feeling to feel, because some people may feel as if that person left, and I tell people all the time, well then, let's talk through that, or talk to somebody about that, or write out how you're feeling, or do something that allows you to express where you are and what you're feeling in that moment.
Because holding on to it is only going to hurt.
Yeah, holding on. Yes, it's only going to make it worse because, like we said, it could be 20 years from now, and every time you still think about that person, you're only thinking about the loss, right? You're only thinking about the pain, and we have to get ourselves to a place to where when I think about this, yes, there's still going to be some pain there because it is a loss, but we need to start thinking about those happy memories. The love that was shared, the things that we did, the way they made me smile, or, a favorite that they did, or a favorite thing that they said, so that you can get to a better mental space and just a living space after grief. Because the thing about grief is that there's no set timetable to grief.
Right.
Like, each person is individual. Like, it might take somebody 20 years before they get over this. It might take someone 6 weeks. It just depends on you. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make, though, is we expect people to grieve like we grieve.
Yeah. That's true.
We expect people to grieve like we grieve. We expect people to be on the same timetable as us. And, if I'm good, they should be good. But we really don't know what that person meant to them.
Right.
You know, we don't know how deep that connection was and, you know, all the things that they experienced. And so we just have to know that each person is grieving differently, but we can still support everybody at the end of the day.
I absolutely agree, because that reminds me of when my cousin, when he lost his mother, who was, you know, he let him tell it, his world, who he confided in, single parent. His father, he didn't have a relationship with his father, and then that father ended up dying. And so, you know, when she died, he was, you know, he was broken.
Yeah.
And he definitely carried that. Might even still carries that to some degree. But my mom, who's her sister, processed it completely different.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, you know, that was the sister she grew up with. You know, still took care of. You know, that was her baby sister.
Yeah.
And not supposed to go before me.
Yeah.
And they were young, in their 40s, and they processed it completely different. Whereas he, of course, broke down because he was only 15, 16.
He was still young.
And whereas she was, of course, in her 40s, but she went immediately into like problem solving mode. Like, okay,
Of course.
Okay, let's go ahead and get the funeral arrangements. And I remember when I came in from college, we were just talking about it, processing it, and she broke down.
Your mom did?
She broke down before the funeral, and I think that was the first time that she had gotten a moment to do that before the funeral. And of course, at the funeral, she broke down too. And I think it took her a minute to kind of allow herself to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So that is that process of knowing how you grieve and knowing what you need. Like, your process is your process.
Yeah.
But you just have to, whatever it is, you have to go through your process. Don't just shut it down, go into depression, and try to just shut everything out and not think about it and avoid it, because you're only going to do yourself more
of a disservice. Yeah.
Right. But you want to talk about really grief beyond just death.
Yeah. So, thinking about the pursuit of the good life, thinking about everything that's happened. And so, like I said before, one of the things I thought about when I heard of Kobe's dying, and then learning of the lives of his daughter and the rest of the young ladies, it really made me think about how we process grief beyond death, in a sense. So, like, if there's like a loss of a job, or so for me, I started therapy last year, and one of the things me and my therapist talked about was the fact that I was grieving the loss of school. And I never thought of it like that, because for me, school had become such a constant that that's all I have ever done.
More than half your life.
Half of my life. Majority of my life, that's all I've ever done. And so even though, you know, graduating and finishing was just such a great thing, and I'm so grateful, like, there was just this other piece to it that I wasn't expecting. And so I think oftentimes when we think of grief, we only think of it in terms of death. We don't think of it as like the loss of something. And I think that we wind up in these spaces of depression. Because I know I definitely have dealt with that. I know other people who, they may have had a big move or a change somewhere, and they deal with that because it's a change. It's something, it's different. It's not what you're used to. And you have to adopt a new normal. But we grieve those things. I believe that we grieve when we lose a friendship. So not necessarily somebody dying, but there's just that loss. There's that disconnection of a connection. And we can grieve those things as well and not even recognize that we're grieving. So, yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. But feel your feelings, people. That's the main thing. Is that you got to go through your own process to really just to get through it, so you don't stay in the same place. Because the worst thing that you can do is when you get to that depression phase, or you fall into that anger phase, or whatever phase you fall into, you just stay there.
And you get stuck.
And that just starts to affect everything in your life. And research has proven this. Your mental health, if you do not take care of it, your stress, all that good stuff, it eventually will affect your physical health. Let me say that again. Your mental health, if not checked and taken care of, will eventually affect your physical health. So get your emotions, get your mind, get all that together as well as you would if you had a whooping cough. Like, if you got the flu, you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So if you got some mental, emotional baggage that you need to deal with, call a therapist, call your insurance, see who takes your insurance, do what you need to do. If you ain't got insurance, call a nonprofit and get with a nonprofit and figure it out.
And go talk to somebody.
To do that.
I agree. I was gonna say that be kind to yourself. And I say that because, like we said before, that a lot of us, we don't really know how to process loss, and we kind of use other people's standards for ourselves, and we'll get angry with ourselves, or we'll feel like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, I'm supposed to be doing that. But be kind to yourself, especially these next few days, because the reality of it is there has to be a funeral, which is going to be another.
Oh, I'm gonna watch all of it. I'm watching.
Of course, right?
I'm gonna watch it all. I'm gonna consume all of it. It's got to be on ESPN.
Right. There's going to be a funeral, which when somebody, if you've gone through that process of somebody close to you dying, like, it's like, okay, it's like them dying all over again in a sense. Because it's like, I heard about it. Now I have to physically see you in this space. And so there's going to be a funeral. You know, there's going to be all these new things coming out, and we just have to take care of ourselves these next few days and weeks and months as we're all processing and dealing and going through the stages of grief. But just be kind to yourself.
Right. And for me, that funeral is a part of the accepting process for me.
For you, yeah.
For me, because it's like you're saying goodbye.
Yeah.
And you're also like honoring
who this person is
in your own life.
Yeah.
And just acknowledge all the funerals that I've experienced have been along that same sentiment.
Yeah.
And allow me to get whatever other feelings I hadn't already felt, or if I hadn't allowed myself to feel those feelings before the funeral, they start rushing out like at that exact moment.
I'm the same way. I don't cry until the funeral. Like, and I think that's what I've been dealing with these past few days with my cousin, because I haven't really cried yet. And I realize and I think, like you said, for me, I think it's that the process of me seeing you here means it's really real. You know, it's real. Like, this is really real. This is not a dream. Like, you are here and I see you here. That, for me, that's when the tears come. Like, it doesn't matter who has been in my life. Seeing them there, that's when the tears come for me. Like, that's when I really feel my feelings, in a sense, is at the funeral. Yeah, that's how it is for me.
You're trying to hold yourself back now, ain't you?
I am, because I'm like,
I feel it.
I am, because
I feel the emotion.
Because it's just been a lot. Like, it's been a whole lot. I'm not gonna cry, y'all.
Feel your feelings.
I know, Sarah. Right? As I tell y'all to feel y'all feelings. No, I'm just kind of just thinking about like these past few years and just like the things that have happened and the people that have passed, and then to see all of this happening. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. And I think for me, the casket or the funeral is like you said, it's that acceptance piece. It's that, okay, this person's really gone. And we see that. So I don't know if I'm going to watch Kobe's funeral. I don't know, because like I said, like this just hit different. I don't know, what about this? It just hit different. And so I don't know if I'm be able to do that one. I don't know, cause like I remember every like you said, we can think about every celebrity that has passed. So like I remember where I was when Michael Jackson died. Right, I can tell you exactly what I was doing, where I was when that came out, and I watched his funeral. I remember where I was when Whitney Houston died. I can tell you exactly what I was doing. You know, I remember all of these things, and I watched everything. But this one is different. This one hits a little bit different. I don't know if it's because I've been dealing with death, and maybe that adds to it. But
I think it's the layers.
Yeah.
I think the layered release.
Yeah.
And of course, on top of his life being gone, his daughter, and then the other 7 people
Right.
that are so important as well. But I think another piece of it is that we watched his
Life.
his emerging into adulthood.
Yeah, we did.
From 17, he comes to the league.
Yep.
And he comes to the height of his NBA career. We see his exiting out, and then we see him not only that,
coming in.
we see him flourishing in his
Retirement.
And building off of that. So it's just
we just seen everything, and then his family. Like I said, like I think for a lot of women, especially those that are like close to their fathers, like this whole like that piece, I think really hits a lot of people, like a lot of women, because it's like that whole like that bond that you have, and like seeing that, like it's a lot. I think that has a lot to do with it as well. It's just the fact that they were so young. I think for me, it's always hard for me when younger people pass away. Like not, taking away from everybody else's life. But I think for me, it's always harder for me to process that in terms of like the why, because you think about the potential, right? You think about these young ladies, their lives had so much potential, and there was so much greatness, and there was just so much there. And I think about that with every young person that passed away. Because a few weeks ago, like not even 2 weeks ago, there was a shooting, and a Collierville high school student, and I think the baby was in like 3rd grade.
Yep.
And that was hard, and it always makes me think like, man, they were so young, like they had so much life, and there's just so much, because it's sudden. Like this wasn't something that you can kind of prepare for with somebody who's sick. It's just like they're just gone.
It hit hard and it hit fast.
Yes, it hit hard and hit fast, and that's really where my why comes from when it comes to this. Like, well, why them?
Right.
Why this? Why now? And so on. So,
absolutely. And not to divvy back, but what's crazy about the women, his passion for women's sports is that I heard his interview the other day. Basically, I'm gonna make it short. Is that he loved being a dad to girls.
Yeah.
He wasn't messed up about not having a son. He loved his
girls. Yes.
So much, and everything around his world revolved around them.
Yeah.
And to be able to step away from basketball and go full force into that made him like the happiest he could ever be.
Right, because I mean, he died being a dad.
Right, and it's so unfortunate, but
it is.
I want to end this podcast by doing my way of honoring, his impact on my life, and I mean to so many other people, a whole generation
of people,
his life around the entire world, not just the U.S. By saying just 8 things, because of his first number 8, that you can take away, like from the way that he lived and the way that he gave himself to the world. Number 1, hard work over talent. Even though he was 6'6", he was talented, came straight out of high school into the league.
He did.
He still worked like he was the least talented person in the gym, like to the point to where he said to himself, he said, if I can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, get a workout in, then go home, take a nap, rest, all that good stuff, then go to practice, and the rest work out, and then work out again, I've automatically gained 2 more practices than the normal person.
That's
so
true.
I'm already gaining 5 years ahead of you worth of practice, working on my craft, and doing that. I've just gained that much. So you got to, no matter how talented you are, no matter how gifted you are, no matter what family you come from, your hard work has to overcompensate your talent, and you cannot neglect that hard work to get what you want in the good life. Number 2 is the devil is in the details. He has a show on ESPN that took everyone behind the scenes of how he approached the game, and like to the point of where he knows how people defend, he knows how their tendencies are, how they shoot, what hand they shoot with, how often they go to the right, how often they go to the left, when they get he just knew the details, which is what made him such a nightmare on the court, because he knew you. He knew if you were going to defend me, you're going to defend me light on this side, so I'm going to attack it. I know that you had an injury the other week, so I'm going to attack your left ankle. And the details in your pursuit of the good life, in the careers that you want, in the relationships, like studying your family, your parents, you got to pay attention to the details, because they will make the biggest impact in the long run of your pursuit of the good life. The next is be the best, but still have your family.
That's good.
When I found out that the whole reason he got the helicopter years ago was because of his girls. Not because I hate LA traffic, but because LA traffic is getting in the way of me spending time with my daughter. It made me miss a whole play. So that's never going to happen again while I'm in, because when I'm in LA, it's their time. And I'm still gonna be the best. I'm still gonna get up at 3 a.m. I'm still gonna go practice, but when I'm off, it's their time. And it's nobody else's time. It's about me and my wife and my girl's time. And I think a whole lot of people miss that in their pursuit of the good life. Where they do neglect kind of their family, they neglect their spouses, they neglect their children, because they feel like they got to put their all in it. But you might have to sacrifice. You might have to get up at 5 a.m. You might have to get up at 4 a.m. so that you can work on your business plan, so you can do what you need to do, so that you can take your kids to school, so that you can plan that date night on the 2-hour window that your wife and you're out. Like, the devil is in the details, but the details do make the difference when it comes to your family. The next is give everything that you have. When Kobe was playing, you didn't hear about, and no shot to any other players that are playing right now, but you didn't hear about him starting a business here, starting a business there. He was focused on basketball and becoming the best. He didn't start looking at off-the-court stuff until he was about to retire.
Yeah.
Like looking, okay, what am I going to do next? Let me start thinking about this, doing that. Give everything that you have your attention. And while you do that, and this is number 5, is demand the most from those around you. Those who spoke about him personally said that he was the type of person who would get on you when you aren't doing your best. If he heard you had high cholesterol, he would get in your face and expect you to get it together, because your family's depending on you. Some people are depending on you to come up and to perform and be there for them. So he's going to demand the best from you. That's why his teammates hated him.
Right, of course.
The teammates that weren't didn't aspire to become champions, they hated him. And they hated, the fact that he was so laser focused on becoming the best and being the best and maintaining to be the best. They just couldn't understand that. But it takes that type of person to make an impact. And I bet all those teammates now are like, remembering he demanded the best from me, so now I'm going to give my best now. The next thing is push through the pain. That 2008-ish year 2007 actually. He played half the season with a broken finger.
Oh wow!
Like the year that they went to the finals, lost to the Celtics.
Yeah,
he was playing with a broken finger the whole time. And still was getting buckets, still giving it to you. And I know a lot of people remember when he ruptured his Achilles, he got up, sank 2 free throws, and then walked off. Through the pain, he still performed and he still gave it his all. And a lot of us, when we feel pain, we shut down. We experience our loss, we experience whatever situation, and we just shut down. But you got to still wake up. You still got to show up and show out, despite how you feel. The next one, this should be number 7, is look at what your next chapter is. So don't just get so caught up in the moment. I know, of course, we've been talking about, of course, live in the moment, value it, but also start thinking about what your next chapter is. What will be your legacy?
Yeah. And
what am I going to do next? Because he was looking at, what he was going to do after basketball before he did, and when he did, came out, win an Oscar, wrote 3 children's books, started a podcast shorts for families to listen to in the car. Mm-hmm. He was launching himself, investment in body armor, Mamba Sport. He was he was all in his next chapter. In an interview, he said, "I'm not worried about my place among the greats." Mm-hmm. Whereas other players are so caught up in their careers, and you would think, hell, I played 20 years in the league. I'm second lead. At the time he was third before LeBron just passed him. Third leading scorer. I'm the man. He wasn't on it.
No, he was on the next.
He was on to the next, and I think there's so much value in on to the next. And I think I've kind of been on that wavelength of. I know in the previous podcast I talked about how my lifelong dreams since I was 17 was to become a therapist. Here now I'm a therapist now, and now I'm like, okay, what's next? Mm-hmm. How can I use what I've learned? How can I use my experience to go on to the next chapter? And so for those of you, yes, you've achieved great things. You've achieved great accomplishments. You've graduated. You've gotten married. You've had your kid. You made the most that you ever had. Okay, what you gonna do next year? What you gonna do tomorrow? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do next? Mm-hmm. And I think that I'll say for me, it gives me a sense of joy and a sense of purpose. Yeah. When I do have something that I need to work on and look forward to. Looking forward to this podcast. I was looking forward to doing this podcast for just helping people through their pain and through their grief. And last but certainly not least, next generation. Yeah. He invested in the next generation with the books, with the Mamba Sports Academy. Even though he did, obviously it came from, wanting his daughter to have a place that, that she can perform. But his investment in the Mamba Sports Academy, which does just more than basketball, by the way. Yeah. It's something that will, without doubt, become legendary. Of course. For years to come because of who he is and his investment in the future. So for us, let's make sure that we invest in the next generation. So I ain't got no kids. I ain't got no kids. No. But when we get them, I'm gonna give them everything I have, and their friends as well, and the youth at our church, and the kids that I'm counseling. I'm going to give what I can to the next generation, because that's essentially the legacy. That's where legacy kind of begins. It is. But that's what I had. What did you have anything?
No, I thought those were good. I like every one of them. I thought they was great. The whole investing into the next generation. That is definitely something that I do on a daily basis. And you don't necessarily have to have kids to do that. I don't have children, but I feel like all the kids I meet are my kids. And so it's really easy. Just go be a mentor. Go be a mentor. Go to a high school. They're always looking for people to talk to these kids. They're always looking for people to make a difference in the world. One of the things that I think about, and I ask myself is, have I paid I feel like as humans, we have a people tax. Like, have I helped somebody today? Have I made somebody smile? Was I nice to somebody today? That's kind of the way that I try to think about my days. Like, what have I done today to help somebody else in some type of way? And so, I think that Kobe's life and legacy has given us so many gems and so many things to help guide us, in the next stages of life. And he will definitely be missed. Definitely be missed.
He will. So for those of you who are enjoying this podcast, share this with somebody else who needs this.
Yes, please share this.
Share this with somebody who's going through their own version of grief, their own version of loss. Share this with somebody who could really take value from this podcast. And if you experience that, please comment below on YouTube. I'm hoping that this will be up on iTunes by the time this comes out. But please subscribe on all these platforms. Follow us on the Spotify. Follow us on
Instagram.
Follow us on Instagram at @pursuit_podcast. Comment. I'm posting video shorts of the clips. And if you want to see something specific, please feel free to DM it. I will respond.
And know that you're not alone in this, y'all.
Right.
We're all on this pursuit together.
Absolutely. So, well, that's episode 3. So until next time, keep pursuing, keep going after your version of the good life, and we will see you next week.
Bye, y'all.